In this presentation, I will be telling you how I go from 0 to 10 real quick. So I want everyone in here to think and raise your hand if you've ever tried journaling. Awesome. Now keep your hand up if you say you journal once a month-ish. Once a week? Does anyone journal every day? Nice. So for the past 194 days, I have journaled every single day. And I've never journaled before this trip. And I hope that in this presentation, I can articulate how impactful that has been for me in literally every aspect of my life. Also, I'm going to be making a little mind map while I'm speaking, and this is not like to be a distraction. It's just because documenting has been so important for me, and so I thought it would be cool to document this experience as well. So, some background about me. At home, I have been given the name Ice Queen by my parents. The full name is Ice Queen Double Spawn, but and I've been given this name because I tend to be someone who doesn't willingly share my emotion. I definitely have a close group of people that I can talk to, but for the most part, I'm pretty bottled up. This has definitely been a flaw of mine that's come to the surface in the past 6.5 months. Side note, I'm very uncomfortable talking about this topic in front of my best friends, and so doing it in front of a large group of people is weird and uncomfortable and unfamiliar, so bear with me. So, before the trip, I went to a psychic. Yes, I'm one of those people who believe in that kind of stuff, and he told me that it's really important to document my experience. So I've done that in 3 really big ways. The first way is that I've taken a bunch of pictures on my camera. The second is that I have been journaling. And the third is that I have found myself taking on the role, also excuse my terrible drawing skills, of the 2-second video. And the 2-second video is, I've been taking videos every day for this entire trip and like putting them together and editing them in iMovie and making them look cool, pretty. And as I was reflecting on this, I kind of realized that my journal, which is the emotional and sometimes hard stuff, it's my internal self. It's the self that I hide from people. And the 2-second video, which is this edited, polished version of myself, is how I want to be seen. I want people to look at me and be like, wow, she really has her shit together. Like, she's really confident and cool and happy. And I know that that is a completely unrealistic expectation and actually a really harmful one to set for myself. And I think it took me looking back on my journal to realize that it's okay to be vulnerable and it's okay to have emotions and not hide everything. So with that being said, I'd like to do a short activity with all of you. You should have all gotten like a piece of paper. So we did this activity in seminar, in the Who Am I seminar, so I bet TBB people have already done this. And it's called I Am and Others See Me As. So the I Ams are who you see yourself as. What are some characteristics about yourself that you feel to be true? So I'll do an example before you all do yours. So I am Tessa. I think I'm pretty loyal. I'm understanding. I'm funny. I'm a little judgmental. I can be mean. I'm privileged, and I'm lazy. So, the others see me category is if you were an outsider looking in on yourself, how do you think others perceive you? What are some of those characteristics? So, I think people see me as a good friend, funny, dramatic. I'm sure some of my friends can attest to that. Aware of myself. And impatient. And there's a million more, but. So now I'm going to give you all about a minute or two, and I want you to reflect and write down like 3 or 4 things in each category. Take about another 30 seconds or so. All right, even if you're not done, let's bring it back for a sec. So I'm not gonna ask anyone to share because it's really personal, but hopefully that could be like a nice little reflection tool for all of you. So after doing this activity about a week ago, I was having a one-on-one with my PL Patrick, and he was kind of helping me go over what I wanted to do and like how I wanted to shape this presentation. And I had made a big mind map of all of my ideas. And he looked at me and he was like, wow, I honestly didn't even know that you had these feelings. And I realized how closed up I was, and that the only person who really knew what was going on in my head was myself. No one's going to know how I'm feeling unless I advocate for myself, which is something that I'm not very good at doing. I think it would be really cool to have the I am category and the others see me category having the same words in each, because it's really important for me moving on to not hide my feelings and to be really open and transparent. So to go along with this, I started having some pretty bad body issues in Thailand. On day 77 to be exact. And I'm gonna read, this is my journal. I'm gonna read, it's like a couple sentences, but as I was going through, this was like the first time I had ever heard myself talk about it. So I say, the past week has been tough, and part of that is homesickness, part is being annoyed with everyone, part of it is feeling obese and not working out and feeling fat and lazy, and a lot of it is missing Jake. It's getting tough, but I know I got this. So I knew I would gain weight on this trip, just like hearing from other people's experiences, but I don't think I anticipated the emotions that would come with that. So I would mask a lot of my feelings by joking about how fat I was, and I was in the fat chicks club, and then I would go home and eat more food because food always makes me feel better, but it was like this cycle that I was putting myself through. And I would go home and write in my journal these really mean, degrading things about myself, about how disgusting and lazy and fat I was. And I didn't want to tell anyone like how I was really feeling, because in my experience, when someone comes to me with an insecurity, I tend to notice it more about that person. Like, not saying that's a bad thing, but I didn't want anyone to see me that way. So rereading my journal entries has been really hard. I see how mean I was to myself, and it's also made me realize how far I've come as a person. And I may not be where I was at the start of the trip, but I am so happy with my body, and I am so comfortable with who I am as a person now, and I think that that's really reflected onto the way that I see myself. This has also showed how confident I am now. I think there's been a lot of times in my life before the trip and on the trip where I couldn't have said that. And by being on TBB, I think it's really magnified everything that I was hiding and like put it out there for myself. And it's really cool to say that like I love myself now as a person, and I think journaling is a big part of that. So I think the biggest takeaway, or one of the biggest takeaways that I've gotten on this trip, is that learning is reflective. Most of the learning that I've done, or like self-growth that I've done, has been in the past couple of weeks after the fact. And I've been able to reflect on all of my experiences, the good ones and the bad ones. And I don't know if I would have been able to do that so easily had I not been recording every single day. Another takeaway is that humans are meant to deal with things. And what I mean by that is, so before the trip, I'm sure like everyone else who's done TBB, I was super anxious and nervous and scared. And my wonderful mentor, Abby, she told me this saying, and it really hit me, because we're all human and we're all supposed to deal with things. We're made to deal with emotions. We're made to go through bad experiences and good experiences and get through them. And so this has been like my mantra throughout the whole trip. I have another journal entry that I wrote about this when I was just feeling like sad one day. I guess humans are supposed to feel like this. It's what we're capable of. Doesn't mean that it doesn't suck, but humans are supposed to deal with things, and I'm dealing with this as best as I can. I think that we forget how many emotions humans are capable of. And one of the biggest reflection processes for me, which I need your guys' help for. So I have gone through my entire journal, rated it on a scale of 1 to 10. So down here, this is every single day of the trip and different places that we've been. So I started Mimi there, then homestay, blah, blah. This by two things. One, I would look back and like if I was mean to myself or anything, it was probably a bad day. The second way I rated it was how I was feeling as I was rereading it back. And so as you can see, there are many, many ups and downs. I added a few like little bubbles on like my highest and lowest. So like I had like my first panic attack. Ghana IST was a 10, and it was amazing. Election night was a 0, was a negative 100. My first week in Danjiang, a farming village in northern Thailand, was like the best week of the entire trip for me. I was having a lot of body issues in Ecuador, very sick at one point. So yeah, and I think that this not only represents my experience on TBB, but it's a good representation of life in general. And I think we forget the ups and downs because it's so normal. And hopefully this just like puts things into perspective. So if I've learned anything from TBB, it's that it's better to end with questions and not answers. So I've written out a few questions for myself that I have going forward. Will I continue to journal? Would I have realized all of these things about myself had I not been journaling? And how can I incorporate body positivity and confidence into my life post TBB? So these are all things for me to work on that I totally will. To end this, I want to read you all a letter that I wrote to myself in Thailand when I was like starting to go through kind of a rough time. Excuse the language, I'm very sorry. Dear me, just want you to know you're a boss-ass bitch. I'm so proud of you. If you're ever having a bad day, try to think of everything you've accomplished this year. I mean, you went on a 7-month trip where you didn't know what you were doing and who you would be with. That's pretty ballsy. I know you've been having some bad days, but remember what's important. All of the connections you're making and the new TBB family that you have. Take a deep breath and love yourself. You're so strong. Don't let your mind bring you down. Now say it with me. I love myself and my body. Proud of me. You go, bitch. Love yourself. Any questions?
I think it's, when I went to TBB last year, I was very conscious of I don't really want to record anything. So I want to just be in the room. So I think it's really fascinating to see how well and successfully you've recorded it for yourself. So were there times where you're thinking of like, I don't want to record, I just want to, not writing your diary for you?
Yeah, definitely. I think it doesn't work for a lot of people. I've like recommended other people to do it, and they've been like, what is this? Like, this doesn't work. But there have been times, and actually something I forgot to say was like, I'm having this fear that journaling is enabling me to like hide my emotions from real people. And there definitely were days when I was just like, I really don't want to do this. But at the end of the day, it made me feel really a lot better. And also I'm kind of the type of person who like doesn't remember what I ate for breakfast. And so like being able to look back on every single day and like remember exactly how I was feeling, exactly what we did is like pretty awesome. So yeah.
Well, first of all, I think it's great that you kept a journal. I keep my journal from my gap year in like a fireproof safe. It will become a prized possession, I promise you. But I know that you kept a blog on your gap time too.
Yeah.
So have you compared those two things, and like how does your outward, I guess, expression of your experience and the inward expression sync up or not sync up?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I actually didn't think about that, but I guess my blog is kind of like my 2-second video and my journal is me. As my blogs like went on, I started to be a little bit more honest, but like mostly it was like so my parents could know what I was doing and my friends and family, and it was just like, I'm having the best time ever, like woohoo, and not actually, I mean I was, but like there are other things too. So interesting. I think maybe my next blog will be a little bit more honest. Yeah.
I love the mind mapping. That's such a great idea.
Thank you.
You just get all this in your head, and it's so nice. You've got it out there in categories.
Thank you.
Very helpful.
Thanks.
I love this as well. What a neat reflection. I'm also a journaler. I'm wondering, it's something I struggled with too, that in a journal, it isn't actually a place to be mean to yourself. And you don't, that's not super healthy to be mean to yourself. And so what are some strategies that you feel to avoid that, or to recognize it and then counteract it, or have you come up with any strategies?
I think the biggest one is like and knowing that like a lot of this stuff I don't want to ever read again because like it makes me feel so bad. And so like moving forward, I'll be honest, but like not in a degrading way. And I think like me feeling these emotions when reading it back last week definitely helped me realize that.
I think on that, I think journaling can be a place to be mean to yourself, but when you looked at the graph, you had a lot of high points in there. So I think zooming out and being able to read it back and see like, the back points stand out as really bad, but there were so many high points as well. So
yeah, absolutely.
That can be helpful.
Yeah.
This is so great. It's so enlightening, and I love this idea of humans are made to handle things, to deal with things. And I just wanted to make a comment, a reflective comment, that one of the very first conversations that we had together after you were in Ghana for a little bit, you said, oh gosh, yeah, I haven't taken a hot shower in, 2-3 weeks, but that's fine. I mean, it's really fine. I'm dealing with it. And I remember just being like, wow.
Wow, that's so unlike Tessa.
Or just like in subsequent conversations when you said, yeah, it's been kind of a hard time, but I know things will get better.
Yeah. I think journaling helps a lot with that. I think we have to go. Okay, go.
All right, now the question's not for you. It's for the other TBB people on it. That the graph you showed, the 0 to 10, that sort of line up for your experiences? Would you say, or when you look at it, were there a lot of ups and downs like that?
You guys too.
Even in one day, it could be like
Even in one day.
Yeah.
For me too, in like similar places as Tessa, like in Danjang, I think I was really up, and then our one homestay when we got sick, we were both like really down. So.
Yeah.
And I think everyone in our gap year can say too that like Thailand is honestly like
Amazing. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.